Hi, everyone, and welcome back to English Daily Talk, the podcast where we use real stories, real emotions, and real English to help you grow every single day.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Jessica. If you're new here, this is our C1 series, where we go a little deeper. Deeper topics, deeper vocabulary, and deeper reflections.
In today's episode, we're talking about something you can't see, but you can definitely feel.
Today's topic is the invisible weight we carry.
That sounds dramatic, but it's true, right? We all carry invisible weight stress, expectations, worries, responsibilities. But on the outside, we often look totally fine.
Exactly. Maybe you're that person who always says, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm fine," even when you're absolutely not fine.
In this episode, we'll share a couple of personal stories, talk about why we hide our struggles, and give you some useful English expressions to talk about emotional pressure and mental load.
So, as always, relax, grab a cup of tea or coffee if you can, and let's dive in. Let me start with a question for you, wherever you are right now. Think about the last time someone asked you, "How are you?"
And now think about your real answer versus the answer you actually gave out loud.
Maybe your real answer was, "I'm exhausted. I feel behind on everything. I'm worried about money or my future or my family."
But the answer you gave was something like, I'm good, or yeah, I'm okay, just busy.
We do this all the time. And one day, it hit me how heavy that invisible weight can become. So I want to share a story about a random afternoon in a supermarket.
Ah, yes, the famous supermarket story. When in doubt, life always happens in the supermarket.
Exactly. Ordinary places, ordinary days, but inside some very big feelings. So, this happened a few years ago. From the outside, my life looked pretty good. I had a stable job, a decent apartment, friends, a supportive family. Nothing dramatic, nothing obviously wrong.
Basically, if someone checked your Instagram, everything looked perfect.
Totally. Smiling photos, nice coffee, sunny days. You know the vibe. But inside, I was tired. Not the normal, I need more sleep, tired. It was a deeper kind of tiredness, emotional exhaustion.
The kind where your brain is running in the background all the time.
Exactly. I felt like I was constantly behind. Behind at work. Behind in life. Behind my friends. Everyone seemed to be moving forward. New jobs, new countries, new relationships. And I felt stuck.
That's a big one. The feeling of being left behind.
Yes. So one Saturday, I went to the supermarket. My plan was very simple: buy bread, milk, and some fruit. That's it. Very normal day.
Low emotional risk, just bread and bananas.
But when I got there, it was extremely crowded. People everywhere. Carts bumping into each other, kids crying, long lines, loud announcements. Bright, artificial light. It was like a low level chaos.
Classic supermarket on a weekend.
I was standing in front of the shelves trying to choose a type of cereal, and suddenly my brain just froze. There were maybe 20 different boxes: high fiber, low sugar, organic, gluten free, chocolate with nuts, without nuts, on sale, not on sale.
Paralysis by analysis.
Exactly. My chest felt tight, my heart started beating faster, and this thought just appeared in my mind: I can't do this. And the funny thing is, I wasn't thinking about cereal. The cereal was just the trigger.
Cereal as a symbol of something bigger.
Yes, it was like all the hidden stress from work, from relationships, from my own expectations. All of it came crashing down in front of the cereal aisle. I felt this wave of panic, and for a second I thought, I might cry right here, in front of the cornflakes.
And for the record, that's allowed. Public cereal crying is completely valid.
Thank you. Good to know. But at that moment, I felt ashamed even for feeling overwhelmed. I remember thinking, this is ridiculous. Nothing is wrong. You're just shopping. Get it together.
That's the inner critic talking.
Exactly. So I forced myself to choose any cereal, walked quickly to the self checkout, paid, and left. From the outside, I probably looked completely normal, just another woman buying groceries.
No one around you had any idea what was going on inside your head.
Yep. On the bus ride home, I had this realization. Emotionally, I was near my limit. Not because of one big dramatic event, but because of 1,000 small pressures that I never talked about work emails. Deadlines, family expectations, comparing myself to others, trying to be fine all the time.
Tiny weights that keep adding up until suddenly you can't carry them anymore.
Exactly. That moment in the supermarket became a kind of wake up call, a reminder that I needed to stop pretending I was okay when I wasn't. I needed to name the invisible weight I was carrying.
And I think that's the first step, right? You can't put something down if you don't even realize you're holding it.
Exactly. Awareness is step one.
I really like your supermarket story because it shows something important. Breakdowns often happen in very ordinary places.
True. They don't always happen in big dramatic scenes. Sometimes it's just aisle 7, next to the cereal.
It's like our brain is saying, hey, you've been ignoring me for months, and now you're choosing between extra crunchy and super crunchy? Nope, I'm done.
Yes. And for our listeners, maybe your supermarket moment happened somewhere else. On the train, at your desk, in the kitchen, or even in the bathroom at work, looking in the mirror.
Or during your commute, staring out the bus window, feeling like you're moving but your life isn't.
That's a powerful image, actually.
Thanks. I try sometimes.
One important idea from this story is the concept of emotional bandwidth. Bandwidth is a technical term from IT. It means how much data can be transmitted at once. But we also use it for people.
If you say, I don't have the emotional bandwidth for this, it means you don't have enough emotional energy or capacity to deal with something right now.
Exactly. In that supermarket, I didn't have the emotional bandwidth to choose cereal. Not because cereal is difficult, but because my system was already overloaded,
So when we judge people, like, why is she so sensitive? Or why is he overreacting? We have no idea how much invisible weight they're already carrying.
right? That's why kindness matters. You never know if someone is one small inconvenience away from their cereal moment.
Okay, so now let me share my story. Mine happened at work a few years back. On the surface, everything looked great. I had a promotion, I was leading a team, and my manager trusted me with some important projects. Everyone said, wow, you're doing so well.
So, from the outside, you looked successful and confident.
Exactly. But behind the scenes, I was overwhelmed. I was staying late almost every night, replying to emails at midnight, and constantly worrying about whether I was good enough for the role.
Imposter syndrome?
Big time. For anyone who doesn't know, imposter syndrome is the feeling that you're not really competent, that you don't deserve your achievements, and that people will eventually discover you're a fraud.
Very common. Sadly.
So there was this one week that was particularly intense. We were preparing a presentation for a big client. Lots of money on the line. My team was tired, and so was I, but I kept acting like everything was under control.
Classic I've got this mode.
Exactly. Every time someone asked, hey, Chris, how's the project going? I said, yeah, we're good. We're on track. But inside, I was thinking, we are very much not on track.
I've been there.
Then one day, my manager called me into a meeting room. Just the two of us. He closed the door and said, so, how are you really doing? And I said, yeah, things are busy, but we're fine.
Automatic response.
He just looked at me for a few seconds, those long, uncomfortable seconds, and then said, Chris, your team is stressed. You look exhausted. You've made 3 small mistakes this week that you normally wouldn't make. Are you sure you're okay?
Wow. That's both uncomfortable and caring.
Exactly. And in that moment, I felt like I had 2 options. Option 1, continue the performance. Smile, say, I'm fine, just a bit tired. Option 2, tell the truth.
That's a hard choice in a professional environment.
It is. But something inside me just cracked. I took a deep breath and said, honestly, I'm not okay. I feel like I'm drowning a little.
That's a very strong metaphor. I feel like I'm drowning.
Yes, and I chose it because that's exactly how it felt. Like I was underwater, just trying to keep my head up. I told him I was worried about disappointing everyone, that I felt I had to prove I deserved the promotion, and that I didn't know how to slow down without looking weak.
That's the invisible weight of expectations, especially self-imposed expectations.
Exactly. And then something surprising happened. My manager didn't judge me. He didn't say, you're failing. He said, thank you for being honest. Let's figure this out.
That's so important. Let's figure this out instead of you need to fix this alone.
Yes. He helped me prioritize tasks, pushed back on some unrealistic deadlines, and even reminded me that asking for help is part of leadership, not a sign of weakness.
Wow, that's a good manager.
Yeah, I was lucky. But the key point is, nobody could see this internal struggle from the outside. I looked confident. I looked busy and productive, but inside, I was barely holding it together.
So your invisible weight was a mix of pressure, perfectionism, and fear of disappointing others.
Exactly. And the moment I actually said, I'm not okay, that weight didn't disappear completely, but it became lighter because I was no longer carrying it alone.
So we've heard two stories. Me almost crying in front of cereal, and you almost drowning in deadlines.
Both very glamorous moments in our lives.
Extremely glamorous. But it raises a question. Why do we hide our struggles so much?
I think one big reason is culture. In many cultures, you're expected to be strong, to be stable, to not complain.
Yes. If you say, I'm struggling, people might label you as weak, lazy, or too sensitive. Or at least, that's the fear.
So we create this polished version of ourselves, the public self, and we hide the messy, complicated, tired self.
Social media also makes it worse. We see everyone else's highlights, their achievements, their vacations, their promotions, and we think, wow, they're doing so well I can't show that I'm struggling. I'll look like a failure.
Another reason is that we don't want to burden others. We think, everyone is busy. I don't want to add my problems to their list.
That's a big one. We underestimate how much people want to support us, and we overestimate how much we're bothering them by being honest.
There's also the language barrier. For many of our listeners, English is their second or third language. Sometimes it's harder to talk about emotions in a foreign language. You might think, I don't know how to express this exactly, so I'll just say, I'm fine.
That's such a good point. Emotional vocabulary is not always taught in textbooks. We learn how to order food, describe our job, or talk about hobbies, but not always how to say, I feel overwhelmed, or I'm at my limit.
That's one of the reasons we're doing this episode, to give you the words to describe that invisible weight.
Exactly. Once you have the language, it becomes a little bit easier, to be honest.
Let's shift the focus a bit. We've talked about our own experiences, but how can we notice this invisible weight in the people around us?
Good question. One thing to pay attention to is changes in behavior. For example, someone who is usually talkative suddenly becomes very quiet.
Or someone who normally replies to messages quickly starts taking a long time to respond, or stops replying at all.
Another sign is jokes. Sometimes people make dark or self-deprecating jokes like, haha, I'm dead inside, or I'm living at the office now.
We laugh, but sometimes those jokes are a small window into their real feelings.
Exactly. And of course, physical signs. They look very tired, they're not taking care of themselves. They seem distracted or far away during conversations.
The key is to be curious but gentle. You can say things like, hey, You seem a bit off lately. Is everything okay? Or, you've had a lot on your plate recently. How are you holding up?
I really like that phrase. How are you holding up? It means, how are you coping with everything? It shows that you recognize they might be under pressure. Okay, now let's move into our Serial Language Spotlight, section. We'll share some useful expressions you can use to talk about emotional pressure, stress, and invisible weight.
We'll say each expression, explain it, and give you a short example.
Great. Let's go. I feel overwhelmed, meaning you feel like there is too much to handle. You're emotionally or mentally overloaded. Example: I feel really overwhelmed at work this week. There are too many deadlines.
I'm at my limit. I'm reaching my limit. Meaning you can't handle more stress or pressure. Example: with work, family, and studying, I'm really at my limit right now.
I don't have the emotional bandwidth for that right now. Meaning you don't have enough emotional energy or capacity. Example: I'm sorry, I don't have the emotional bandwidth to talk about this today.
These sentences can be very powerful. They are small keys that open emotional doors.
Yes. And you can also use them to talk about other people. For example, she seems overwhelmed, or he's under a lot of pressure.
For our listeners, you might want to pause here later, write these expressions down, and practice saying them out loud. Maybe even translate them into your first language and back, so you really understand them.
And if you feel brave, you can use one of these sentences the next time someone you trust asks, "How are you?"
So, we've talked about the invisible weight and how to describe it. But what can we actually do about it? How do we put some of that weight down?
I think step one is exactly what we've been saying. Name it. Instead of just feeling bad, try to put your feelings into words. For example, I feel overwhelmed because I'm juggling too many responsibilities.
To juggle means to try to handle many things at the same time, like a clown juggling balls in the air.
Yes. Step two is to share it with someone. You don't have to share everything with everyone, but choose one person you trust: a friend, a family member, a partner, maybe even a therapist or counselor if that's available to you.
You can start small. You don't have to tell your whole life story. You can say, "Hey, I've been feeling really stressed lately," or "I think I'm reaching my limit."
Step three is to lower the unrealistic expectations you have for yourself. Many of us carry invisible weight because we feel we must be perfect in every role: perfect worker, perfect parent, perfect student, perfect friend.
Perfection is heavy.
Very heavy. Sometimes putting down weight means allowing yourself to be average in one area so you can be healthy overall.
That's such a good point. You don't have to be a superhero in every part of your life.
Step four, create small pockets of rest. It doesn't always have to be a big vacation. Sometimes it's just 10 minutes of quiet time without your phone. A short walk, a long shower, listening to music, writing in a journal.
Or listening to a podcast in English.
Exactly. I highly recommend one called English Daily Talk.
I've heard good things.
Me too.
Jokes aside, rest is not a luxury. It's maintenance, like charging your phone. You wouldn't expect your phone to run for 3 days on 2% battery, but we expect that from ourselves.
That's so true. We keep running on low battery mode, and then we're surprised when we crash. Before we move to the outro, I want to give our listeners a tiny practice exercise.
Okay, I'm curious.
Think about the question, how are you? Now, imagine someone you trust asks you this question today. Your usual answer might be, I'm fine, or I'm okay. I want you to upgrade that answer a little. Make it just 10% more honest.
So instead of "I'm fine," you could say "I'm okay, just a bit tired," or "I'm okay, but a little stressed about work."
Exactly. You don't have to open your entire heart immediately. You can just open the door a tiny bit. That's already a brave step.
And from a language perspective, this is also great practice. You're building the habit of describing your internal world in English.
which is a very advanced skill. Language is not only for talking about facts, it's also for talking about feelings, beliefs, and invisible things.
So, dear listener, maybe later today, when someone asks, "How are you?" you can ask yourself silently, "What is the invisible weight I'm carrying right now?" And then choose a slightly more honest answer.
I love that. All right, it's time to slowly wrap up today's episode.
Today, we talked about the invisible weight we carry: stress, expectations, responsibilities, and emotions that other people often can't see.
We shared two personal stories: my supermarket breakdown moment, and Chris's experience of pretending everything was fine at work while feeling like he was drowning inside.
We also looked at why we hide our struggles: culture, fear of judgment, social media, not wanting to burden others, and even the language barrier when English isn't your first language.
Then we talked about how to notice invisible weight in others, and we gave you some powerful expressions to describe emotional pressure in English. Like, I feel overwhelmed, I'm barely holding it together, and I'm running on empty.
Finally, we suggested a few ways to put down some of that weight: naming it, sharing it with someone you trust, lowering unrealistic expectations, and creating small pockets of rest.
If you take just one thing from this episode, let it be this: you don't have to carry everything alone. And you definitely don't have to pretend you're okay when you're not.
And from the English side, remember, the more you practice talking about your feelings, the more natural it will become. Don't be afraid to use these expressions in real conversations.
Before we say goodbye, we have a small reflection question for you. What is one invisible weight you're carrying right now? And what is one small action you could take this week to make it lighter?
You don't have to tell anyone if you don't want to, but you might want to write it down in a journal or just think about it for a few minutes after this episode.
And if you feel comfortable, you can also share your thoughts with us or with someone close to you. Sometimes saying it out loud is the first step to healing.
Thank you for spending this time with us and for doing the hard work of growing in English and in life.
If you enjoyed this episode, you can support us by following the podcast, leaving a review, or sharing this episode with a friend who might need it.
And of course, don't forget to check out our other C1 episodes, as well as our beginner series if you want to review the basics in a more relaxed way.
This has been English Daily Talk. Real stories, real English, every day.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Jessica. Take care of yourself, put down some of that invisible weight, and we'll talk to you in the next episode.